how long
Yes. So we were talking about how to um, listen to each other and being able to listen to ourselves at the same time. So before I even start, we're going to back up a little bit. We were doing things a little different here. As you know, we always have real table talk, but this interview, it went a little different. So welcome to the Voice of Many podcast with your hosts, Yolanda and Vanessa. And if you're wondering who the lady is down below, that's Miss Eliana. Um, and I'm just going to leave it at
Eliana Gilad, so here's the thing. It's a Hebrew name, and Eliana in Hebrew means my higher power answered me, and Gilad means eternal joy. And what I love about my name is when you call my name, you're actually calling to yourself.
Oh, nice.
My God answered. It's empowering.
That's nice. That's nice. Well, folks, not just does she have a empowering name, she is also a therapeutic singer, pioneer. She is a healing voice mentor, and she has a wealth of knowledge, and we're learning a lot about each other. Prior to us, going live here for our recording. But Eliana, you said something that was very important. I want you to share again with those that missed out about listening to ourselves.
Yeah. So, first of all, thank you so much for bringing your voice, and I so respect that there's a mother and daughter who are working together, because it's many voices that really allow to reflect the one voice that's behind the many voices. And we were talking about, we just had the best time before Yolanda even pressed record. Because the thing is, like, we live in such interesting times today. And, if you open your newspaper, not newspapers today, either, social media or television, pick your poison, wherever you turn to, there's divisiveness. And what I said was I can't remember exactly what we were saying, but the point was that how can we change anything outside or hear anybody else if we're not first listening to ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
And that, every human being wants to live peacefully, wants to live at ease. Isn't that, really, if you break it down, take any war or any idea or any politic, religion, and I'm not really interested in speaking about those things because I'm interested in what's behind that. Why do we do all of those things? Because we think if we do things in X way, then I'll be safe. How's it working for you? Over generation in, right? Civilization in, civilization out. And yet there were times in civilization thousands of years ago where humanity did live peacefully together. And when we look at those times, they are times when we were more inner focused than we were outer focused.
Yeah, and those were times too where we had less, but were able to do more.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really, really important. And getting back to the voice, listening. So I want those that are listening and watching as well to know that Eliana has a book that she's going to talk to us about as well. that is very important for what we're all going through now. Yes, we came out of COVID, but there is a need for, how you say it, a voice to be heard, not just ours, but also internationally as well, with what is going on in the world. And her book is entitled Find Your True Voice. And that is so powerful for right now, for what we're all going through and what we're watching over the news and what families are going through, is being able to know what our true voice is and how to find it. But before we get to that point, if you will, share with our listeners a little bit about yourself. We know a little, but your history and everything, can you please just share?
Sure, sure. So how did findyourtruevoice.net, that actually is like a quick start resource that I created amidst pandemic, like when COVID hit. Why? Because having lived through 3 wars and social unrest and displacement in the Middle East for over 20 plus years, it really taught me how to thrive through uncertainty.
Mm.
And well, we were speaking about this before we recorded too. All of a sudden, like the world shifts and everybody's inside, and you are with your kids or you're with your partner, who is this person? All of a sudden you're discovering things that you might not have seen before. And and you see things about yourself that you might not have seen before, and they're not necessarily fun to see. And how do you deal with that?
Oh, yeah.
And and how do you, and so I made this little jumpstart resource. I mean, you could go and it's at findyourtruevoice.net of, how do you really connect to the source of your calm and to be able to find your true voice and speak it even in uncomfortable situations, even when things are stirred up, even when the person who's listening on the other side might, like, you don't know how they're going to respond, but you still are showing up for yourself. And that has led to, now, I mean, have you ever been with bombs dropping? Like, what would you do? What would you do if a bomb dropped in front of you? How would you feel? Would you freeze? Would you flee? Would you, like, what would you do? And when in the 2006 war, I was living in Upper Galilee. I lived in Israel for 20 plus years, in the area where there's a war every other day. I'm joking, but it's like you live in that part of the world, and that's just a reality. And when that war came, I thought, well, those wars were really impetus to practice this connecting inside. It's all fine and dandy when Eliana Gilad is playing God and running the world, the way I think it should be. And everybody else behaves the way I think it should be, Really, when did that ever happen? And no one else behaves the way I think they should. True. Then I'll be fine. How do you show up when it isn't working. And boy, talk about getting good practice when all hell's breaking loose.
Yeah.
And, the measure of a person is not when things, are fine and dandy, but when things are falling apart at the seams. And that really is what I've devoted my life to, and my career and my profession, and this whole approach to support others, first of all, by supporting myself. It's like 30 years later, I've been at this for 30 plus years. And at this point have trained more than 10,000 heart-centered professionals.
Wow.
And initiated medical research to prove, how do you prove something that's thousands of years old that wasn't written down?
Mm.
That was my response to one of the to the Intifada in 2000. It's like, okay, well, if I in that war, it's like, if I react, I'm part of the problem. Like you were saying, Yolanda, like it's like, how can we hear anybody else? And all the in the news, I'm really feeling it today. I mean, like today as we're recording, there's like, with the war in Russia, I have a colleague who's from the Ukraine, and she just wrote maybe about an hour ago that she watched the neighborhood where she grew up, she watched it being bombed.
Wow.
And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And it's reminding me of sitting through those wars. That's what we do. That's what we do, we humans, when we're, and it's, I've learned through that but here's another war story. You want to hear a war story about the listening?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so 2006 war, and so when a Katyusha, which is a bomb, when it started, like when it enters the airwave, so there'd be this sound for 90 seconds, and then sirens go to give you time to get to a bomb shelter or in a safe room in your house. But if you have an older house that doesn't have a safe room in it, then the safest place to go is to an inner space where there are no windows, and as far away from windows as you can. So the only place in my house was like this little corridor to the bathroom, the little hallway, maybe like 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet long. So I'm sitting there going, God, how come we can't just live together in peace? And the voice answers back, well, honey, how well can you live peacefully in war? It's like they're flip sides of the same coin. If you can't be calm when all hell's breaking loose, how do you expect to really be calm? It's like, get real. And it stopped me, because I had no answer to it. It just took me to this place, like, wow, beyond my mind. And it really stopped me in my tracks. And there are just there's so many allegories, and we have this story of the Hebrews going, in pursuit, and being dragged into the sea. Though through sound, waters parted.
Yes.
And it took, like the ancient texts show, that it was a man named Nachshon, which actually means to dare, like with faith, walking into the water till, up to here, about to drown. But the clarity, the resolve, the faith was so strong that that's when the waters parted. And the book is called Emerge Triumphant, Thrive Through Uncertainty, because it's not a book, it's like a more like a workbook that 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 actually recounts the story of the prophetess Miriam, who is such a role of feminine leadership. And if I, over these many years in a group of 10 people to 10,000 people, if I will say how many people who knows who, have you heard of Prophetess Miriam? Do you know of Prophetess Miriam?
No, ma'am.
No? See? Perfect. You ever heard of Moses?
Yes.
Okay. That's exactly what it, like maximum 1 person out of 10 will say yes. But guess what? She's the older sister of Moses. And it's because of her that Moses was even born, could even be born.
She was the one that saved him.
Okay.
Yeah, she's the one who was, I don't know, in the Bible stories, was by the bulrushes. But the ancient script, the commentary on the scriptures tell a story that when the Pharaoh decreed the murder of the firstborn child, so her father was he was like the head of the tribe, and he goes, no way, they're not gonna murder the firstborn males. I'm just gonna divorce my wife, and the people are gonna take suit, and there won't be any kids born. And Miriam comes, she goes like, your decree is worse than Pharaoh's. It's like, he said the males, you're gonna decimate your entire people. So listen to me, and listen to me good. You take your wife back, and there will be, and you'll have another child, you'll have a son, and it will be that person that will lead humanity into, the next phase of humanity. And he listens to her, takes his wife back, people follow suit, and, and then Moses is born. There's that whole story. But she, and I'm born of Levite tribe, same tribe on both sides of my family, mom and dad, unbroken over several thousand years. So it's like in my blood, but nobody told me these stories. And it's that feminine power that knows its strength. So it doesn't have to say, look at me, not by might. And in those days, we were schooled, the drum, and when there's if anybody has heard Bible stories that, where the women play, like in English translations, but English translation is not like the Hebrew original. Because Hebrew it's the first written language, and it's written when we as humanity were operating from the other side of the brain, the other hemisphere of the brain, from the intuitive, not the intellectual. So there are properties in the language that are vibratory, that connect at a whole nother level beyond cognitive. So I can't even it's hard to translate because it's self-evident. But it's not that they were singing and dancing. It's like, you see this drum? This is the oldest drum known to mankind. This is what it is called, Miriam's drum. But look at its skin. How are they going to play the drums in the sea? It's skin. You can't play drums in the sea. But they were so schooled in the power of their voice and the power of sound to create worlds that that was part of the leadership, and Miriam would have been schooled in that. And if you, in my second TED Talk, it's called Trust Your Silent Voice. I wouldn't dare even speak like this until 2017, until that TED Talk. I wanted to, but I was terrified I'd be, hung on the cross, and and I found this. My life has kind of been like a Sherlock Holmes between, like piecing together archaeological finds with ancient scripture, with scientific discoveries, just like kind of putting pieces of a puzzle back together. And I'm like, I know somewhere in the world they're going to have some research that shows how sound will part water. And I found it from the University of Zurich that's in the TED Talk. And you see, like, there's this water spigot, and they open up the spigot and the water comes out just like a regular faucet. And then they have this little thing connected to it that when they turn it on, with the vibration, it's sound that it's so fine. It's the silent sound. It's before you hear it. But it's so powerful that the water dances in it. It's like, hold on, I could find, you want me to, are we being
Go for it.
wait, is this a podcast that we see the video? Okay, so I could actually, if you want, I could find it, and it's so amazing. But you'll need to let me share the screen so I can share it with you. It's so crazy. I just love this.
Bear with me 1 second here.
Here it is.
Let's see. Participants.
Voila. I'm just going to bring it to wherever that place is.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm getting here.
Yeah. Can you?
Participants.
Yeah. Can I?
Cool.
Cool. Great.
Okay.
All right. So can you see this?
Yes.
Oh, wait. Whoops. Hold on. I got to share the sound so we can do this. All right. I hope it's, well, I can't do optimize for video clip. Hopefully you're going to hear this, but you'll see it. That's okay. Less important. This is 25 hertz of silent sound bending to create an upward spiral. Oh, wait a minute. Now there's, oops, wait, there's a little bit before that. Oh, now here's a rocks. That's sound. This is in the USSR. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Now, the amazing thing is that sound waves are the first manifestation from vibration into physical matter. We can sculpt sound waves even though we don't see them. Now, Swiss scientists at ETH University in Zurich have actually proven that sound can part water. So let's look now at 24 hertz of sound parting waters. That's amazing. Isn't that cool? Okay, now watch, if that's not enough, watch this one. This is 25 hertz of silent sound bending to create an upward spiral. Pretty cool. One of the most powerful sounds Hold on.
is the human voice.
Oops.
That was neat.
Isn't that cool?
Before.
Huh? What'd you say,
I
Vanessa?
said, I don't think I've ever seen that
I've
before.
never seen that. I never
Isn't that
seen it.
amazing? I know. I just, every time I see it, it just,
Wow, that is amazing. All right, Vanessa, I'll let you go.
No, I'm just trying to think of what to ask you next, because how, so it was all dealing with the prophet Miriam that you even got to that point, as far as realizing that they could move and bend water with their voices. Is that how you came all the way to that?
Great question. Uh, it's been a, no, that's part of it. I mean, that's part of what became clear to me. But it, you know what it is really, Vanessa? It's a matter of like listening. You know how you know some things inside and you know, but you don't necessarily have words to express it. It's like
Yes.
that's that silent voice. And we don't have words to express it because it's not cognitive. It's from higher brain. It's another paradigm. And that's from, feminine. I don't mean man woman. I'm using feminine, masculine, cognitive, intellectual, how we're used to operating sequentially, and feminine being more like womb, think mother nature, where there's seasons, is cyclical, where there are many levels of reality existing all at the same time. And so when you know something, you do. And you know how there's of I call it a voice. It's not going blah 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 blah, but
That feeling.
yeah, and it's kind of like a voice, like when that voice speaks, those are my marching orders. And ever since I've been a little girl, and it's like every time I dare, first you gotta dare stop long enough to listen to it, because otherwise, it's like, right?
Yeah.
So you gotta stop long enough to listen. And then the next step is to have the courage to develop your courage to trust what you're hearing, because nobody else, you're your leader. That's the point of the book. That's the point of Miriam. I think that it's like, I find her leadership so inspiring because, it's like anything, when you start looking deeply, you get all of your answers. They're like right there beneath your nose. If you'll only stop to look where the answers are and stop looking outside. And when we dare trust what we're hearing and then act upon it, that's what gives us the confidence to give of our gifts, to be who we are. And imagine a world where we're actually doing that. It's like, what happens to the war? There are no need for wars because we don't have to prove anything or get our way, or, whatever we do, in the eye for eye, whatever we do, whatever we do, anywhere around the world.
And you made a good point there, is proving. And that is where we're all stuck now, is always trying to prove something instead
Yeah.
of just accepting things the way that they are, and accepting the fact that things can be better instead of always looking at the negative.
Yeah.
We only see negative. A person can do 100 things good, but it's that one time either that they forget or they may have a bad day that we remember.
Exactly. That's the whole impetus behind this Your Voice Makes a Difference movement. It's like, because, oh my God, left to my own devices, like my mind can be a very dangerous neighborhood. I wouldn't want to go in there alone. But when I stop long enough, to listen to what's beyond that, it's not comfortable, because it requires, because when we stop, yeah, then we hear all of that. But the good news is when we do that, then there's something on the other. It's like there is a result. And having lived in the Middle East for so long, it's like you pay one way or you pay the other, and I'd rather pay with discomfort to find, the true calm that no one, no thing can move or destroy. And isn't that what we're really all looking for in everything that we do anyway?
Yes.
I wanted to say, just like how you said earlier, as a little girl, it seems like whenever you're a child, things come to you so much easier and you're okay with accepting them and speaking and having a voice. But for some reason, when we get older, it's harder to listen to that voice and actually speak on it.
Yeah,
Have
exactly. And that's the leadership, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
self-leadership.
Yes.
It's not over anyone else. It's having, it's having the courage to act upon it. Exactly.
Yeah.
And how it's so simple. It's so simple. And that's really where the work is, isn't it? And who of us has ever been educated for that?
Yeah.
It's like, look at societies. But it's so interesting how human society, doesn't matter where it is or what time of history, it's like a human society is set up for the humans to fit into the society. The society is not set up to support the authentic expression of the individual. And you're fine as long as you fit into whatever mold or, fit into a box. But if you go too much outside of the box, then it kind of upsets the system. And so if you're really going to express yourself, you're kind of by necessity of a pariah. And I think that's one of the reasons why why the fear of public speaking, it's at epidemic proportions, because by necessity, if we're speaking, we are kind of bearing our souls.
True.
And it's vulnerable. It is scary.
And I have to say too, with doing the podcast, that is something that we have learned over time, to be more comfortable with not just speaking, but more comfortable in expressing yourselves and allowing ourselves to listen to what people are saying. And that is so important, because you can learn so much. And even our time with you, we're learning so much. And because you have so much to give from your experience, your life experience, and even to what you're doing now, your gift. So, I mean, I have so many questions I want to ask, and
Go ahead. I mean, I'm learning also. It's like, it's just,
gosh.
it's so, when I got on this call, I meant what I said. I mean, there's really no other place that I want to be. It's like we're all exhausted and tired and nobody knows what's going to be, and we could be pretending we do, but it's bullhooey, right? Nobody knows, and I don't know, it's just I'm feeling really, this is my second podcast today, and I'm ending this day feeling so like I really appreciate this, just meeting other human beings. Like, it's important. It's
Yes.
not a big deal, and it's a real big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just connecting.
And that's it, connecting. That's so true, connecting and being able to reach people, just now on a visual and a spiritual level, to where you get to know a person without being beside a person. And you have a chance to really look on the inside of that person to see
Yeah. That's so true.
Oh, this is great. This is so great. And whenever this is over, because I know people want to say, well, what is that on your wall? I know what it is, but yeah.
Oh, in back of me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You want to hear?
Yes.
You want to hear from? Okay. So the research that we did on this music shows that it's in the silence after the sound that's so potent, not during the sound. And how this works, I don't know what I'm going to sing, but I'll probably sing into the drum. I can even feel it right now. There's it when I'm speaking right now, I can sense a vibration coming off the drum. And how it works is there's always a focus, like I surrender. I'm looking at myself as the instrument, not the doer. So I'm going to connect to the source of the sound and the silence behind the sound. I'm going to listen, like really listen. I'm going to practice what we've been speaking about.
Okay.
Instead of talking about it. And there's going to be no words. And I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth. But I will focus on one word, like an experience or a quality. And I'm going to ask you two to provide us with that. So it could be our music, and for everybody who's listening in afterwards. So maybe like, what would you like to experience in hearing this that will make you say, oh my God, it was so worth it for me to show up to this podcast? Because you invest a lot in producing this.
Just embracing.
Embracing. Okay. And
Embracing and love.
Pardon?
Embracing and love.
Oh, I love it. Oh, that's so beautiful. Okay. So when I'm finished, it's kind of like a pebble in a pond, how the ripple effect comes. So when I finish, maybe I'll do with my fingers, count to allow that space for the ripple effect. And the research actually shows that it's afterwards where the healing power is most potent. And, if you'll allow yourself afterwards to just sit quietly. And actually, maybe this is a good way to close, so that we don't keep. And I'm happy to keep speaking if you have other questions. But I think it will be, if there are other questions, probably better to ask now, because I want you to be able to really have all of the for all of us and everybody who's listening, to have the full vitamins in that gorgeous silence afterwards.
Okay. Well, briefly, I'm going to ask, and then Vanessa, you can go. How can our listeners and those watching follow you and get more information about you?
Okay, so if you want to find your true voice, go to findyourtruevoice.net. That's like really a real powerful little quick start resource for you. The book is emergetriumphantnow.com. And I'm going to let you share about your voice makes a difference. I don't want to overwhelm readers, but those two things, the main website, let's just stay with those two. I don't want to overwhelm, because you can get to the other places. And this approach is called Voices of Eden, because it's a living experiment of creating Eden on earth, one authentic voice at a time, as we've been embodying here so beautifully over the last time together. So thank you so much for that opportunity. It's fun.
All right,
do you want me to go ahead and do my closing now? So
and then we'll end and let her end it.
Oh, cool. Oh,
I'm
that's
gonna
a
let you
great
end it.
idea. Yeah, it's a great idea.
So to those of you who are watching and listening, please don't forget to follow us on our social media outlets. And also, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, as we don't want you to miss out on our special guests and great topics. And we want to thank you for tuning in and want to thank also Miss Eliana, and we're going to let her close.
Yes.
Cool. So sit back, relax wherever you are. Say if you want to close your eyes, you could close your eyes. You could keep them open. There's no right or wrong. If you want to lie down, go ahead, lie down. And this is embracing love. That's what we're focusing on here.